Hey everybody, JJ here, back again for another Wednesday of Zoom networking. We have a special presentation, special time of day, because we have a special guest speaker. The young man we have today is just an absolute rock star in every regard. He is a coach, he's a trainer, family man, leader by example, and just an all-around phenomenal person. I'd like to introduce my good friend, Mr. Steve Trang. Steve, how are you?
I'm doing good. Thank you for having me today.
Oh, my pleasure, brother. I've known of your name for a long time. I thought, oh my gosh, if I could ever get Steve Trang on, oh my gosh. And because I joined Step Two's community almost going on 4 years ago, and your name was one of the first names I heard. And everyone I talked to, everyone, every comment, every post I saw, uh, everyone has the highest regard for you, the highest respect. You're not only helping people, you're teaching people, you're also a coach. And you've earned respect by becoming successful and a leader in the community, much less the field. So thank you for everything that you do for everybody.
Oh, it's my pleasure. I mean, it's just paying it forward, right? I didn't get here on my own. There were a lot of people that helped me along the way, and so however we can help others, it's just paying it back, and also selfishly, right? It's fulfilling, so makes me feel
Yeah.
good helping
Yeah,
other
yeah.
people.
I help people a little bit here and there, and it gives you a good warm feeling when you help someone out. Hey, for those that don't know where you're located, where in the country are you?
I'm in Phoenix, Arizona. We jokingly call it the guru capital of the world. I'm friends with Pace Morby, Brent Daniels, Jamil Damji, Sean Terry, and all these other wholesalers and gurus out here. For whatever reason,
Yeah.
I don't know, something in the water, but that's where we're all
Well,
at.
I think they all moved there because you were there, the first one to lead the bunch there.
I think we're all following each other. I think Sean Terry probably is the one that's led the charge, though.
There you go. Hey, as I said, I know you from the Sub 2 community originally,
Hmm?
but what was your path? I mean, when you were, high school, college, those years from your teens to your 20s, was real estate on the landscape for you, or were you just a high school student? Did you go to junior college, or to the military, or retail
Oh,
sales, or
real
what was
estate
your,
was definitely not the path, and nowhere was real estate ever the path. I grew up in Tempe, Arizona, so I went to high school here, went to Arizona State University, was an electrical engineer, got my bachelor's there. Graduated right after the dot-com bust and 9/11, so no one was really hiring. Went to graduate school at UC San Diego, got my master's degree in electrical engineering,
wow.
and then decided to go work at Intel. And while at Intel, you read this book, Rich Dad Poor Dad, and then
Mhm.
your mind opens. Like there's a way to make money besides working for, a major company. And so, once I read Rich Dad Poor Dad, we started looking to buy rental properties with my best friends. And as we're buying rental properties, you meet realtors. And as you meet realtors, you're like, what do you do exactly? You just talk to people and you make how much?
Uh-huh.
You're making a lot more than I am, and you don't know what you're doing. I can do that. And so I became a realtor. I got my real estate license in '07. Not the best time, but I got my real estate license in 2.5 weeks, submitted my 2 weeks notice, started selling real estate as a realtor, and that was not the easiest path in '07. But I was able to pick up some short sale listings. Had to learn short sales because short sales wasn't a major thing back then. Did REO, so listed properties for banks. And then when the REO market started slowing down, I realized like this is something's got to change, and that was when I finally hired a coach in 2011 because from 2007 to 2011, I was too smart for a coach. I already knew everything, right? Didn't need any help. Had it all figured out. I think coaches are scams. If they know if this is so good, why are they selling it? So in 11, I finally swallowed my pride, got a coach, and then that's when things really took off because that was when I actually understood you are a business person that's in real estate. You're not a real estate person. And
Yeah.
for so long, the first 4 years, I was a real estate person that had to sell. Now I'm a business person that happens to be in real estate, and that's when things dramatically changed my life.
So let me ask you because I'm really curious. I didn't get into the investment game till about 6, 7 years ago, um, which is obviously like around 2018. But today there are so many education programs out there. I think in my group
Hmm.
we have people from over 50 different education programs inside my group alone. Um, but there are coaches as well. As you got your coach, and in the time period of 2011, 2007, 2011, I know the program that I joined in 2018 had been around for 14, 15 years. So they're since
Hmm.
2004 or five. So these programs have existed for a while. Did you hear about these programs? Was your coach through a program? Was he an individual person? Did the coach come first and then did you ever get into these education programs? And what was that like
Well,
for you?
so there's one particular realtor in the Phoenix market, Russell Shaw, who's like the biggest deal. He's been around. He was like for 40 years. This is like 10 years ago, like 12, 13 years ago. He was already a big deal, one of the top realtors for 30 consecutive years, right? I took him out to lunch, picked his brain, we kind of think we kind of joke about. But I say, hey, Russell, like, look, I'm looking around and I need coaching. I see Craig Proctor, I see Brian Buffini, I see Mike Ferry. Now, if you guys are not in the realtor world, these names mean absolutely nothing. But if you are in the realtor world, these names mean something, right? So I say, I'm looking at these three coaching programs. Which direction should I go? He says, oh, it's easy. Go with Craig Proctor because he has friends that are successful within Craig Proctor's programs, right? So I found someone that was already having success. I brought to him some questions. I asked him to guide me, and he answered my question. So I didn't just go in there. It's like, hey, should I get into coaching? What coaching program should I go into? Like, I've done my research, I've done my homework. I was like, hey, which one should I pick?
Yeah.
And he answered the question for me. And from there, I was able to make a quick decision.
So you got some coaching, which is great. And obviously
Hmm.
you had some knowledge about REOs, real estate. You were an agent. You were educated on the process.
Yes.
You're not just good looking, brother. You're smart, right?
Had to learn a lot along the way. Yes.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, you got your freaking master's in engineering. All this. I mean, you're a smart guy, obviously. Um, in your progression to today, uh,
Hmm.
had you jumped into any of these education programs? There's
I've
a
been in a
number of
lot of
them.
different education programs. I've been in a
Okay.
ton of education programs. So, so after Craig Proctor, I got into Darren Hardy with Insane Productivity and Business Mastery. I've been a strategic coach with Dan Sullivan. Uh, let's see. What are some other things? I've been in Sandler for sales. And I've been in, Collective Genius Mastermind. I'm in the Boardroom
Wow.
Mastermind. I'm constantly investing back into my education because the reality is there's only so much time in the day, but there's so much information out there. So how can I compress time and get as much information as quickly as possible, as seamlessly as possible? And the only way to do that is either to pay for coaching or be in a mastermind where other
Yeah,
people are trying to do the same thing that you're doing, which is, what you're doing in your Facebook group, what Pace is doing with Sub2, what Pace is doing with Gator Lending. Like these are all things that help you get to your goals faster.
exactly. And it's about, yeah, as I like to say, it's twofold. One is about the education, learning about the processes, the fundamentals,
Mhm.
the different things that we need to learn to do transactionally. But of course, the other part is building relationships and building our network and building our circle of people around us.
The relationships is absolutely key. One of the things that I did not anticipate, I'm generally introverted. I might not appear that way, but I'm generally introverted. But I'm also looking for the next edge, looking for the next advantage. So, like while I'm in these coaching programs, right, for specifically Craig Proctor, I'm hanging out with top producing realtors across the
Yeah,
country. We're hanging out 1 o'clock in the morning, 2 o'clock in the morning, getting drunk, right? But I'm asking them questions. Hey, what are you doing to get business now? What's working for you? What's not working? What are some things that you're running into right now that's giving you headaches? So
perfect.
like, I'm not just there for the person that's speaking in front of the room, and that person is important, right? The person that's speaking is important. The information they're sharing is important. But what makes the biggest difference is networking with everyone else that's in there who's invested in themselves because these are people that are serious about their business. And because they're in it, or not just in it, further along,
Yeah.
they can again save you a lot of time and heartache avoiding some of the mistakes that they're making or that they made.
Exactly. No, I couldn't agree more. And to you know, there's nothing else I can say. You got me lost for. I couldn't agree more. You're so right on base. I wanted to talk about your topic today. Just jump right into it. Your topic today is what the best house buyers are doing that you're not.
Hmm.
So, let's kind of jump into that a little bit. How, obviously you're here to share some value today, not just, talk about your background. How did you come about that topic? And of course, a lot of my investors are, I'll just say, newer investors,
Hmm.
although we have a great deal of successful or experienced investors as well. But tell us about the topic and how you see it playing into to benefit some of the other investors.
Yeah, so right now, so when I started buying houses in 2011, right? Because that's when I started buying properties, like as a, direct to seller marketing and buying at distress and buying at the steep prices. Back then, if you can get the motivated homeowner's phone number, you got the deal. Like that's it, right? If you had a way to reach the homeowner, you got the property, right? And back then, in 2012, I was looking at my Google AdWords campaign. I was paying $2.50 a click, and I was paying $12.50 per phone number, right? Today, you're paying like $45 a click and, $400 for a lead, right? So like there wasn't so much competition back then. It was only basically me and Sean Terry were the only ones that were really doing PPC in the Phoenix market. Today, it's not hard to pull a motivated homeowners list, right? You got PropStream, you got Property Radar, you got 80/20, Investor Machine, Batch. Like there's so many other places to pull motivated homeowners, distress homeowners list. You got public records, foreclosures, probate, divorce, code violations. Like it's not hard to find people that have pain, right? It's also not hard to get their phone number because again, you can skip trace, right? You can use Bash, you can use skip fast, whatever. There's all sorts of different ways to skip trace. So then how do you win today? And the way you win today is who is the absolute best at building rapport and connecting with the homeowner. Now we simplify it, we just call it sales.
Yeah.
But the reality is we're building a human connection, we're
Mhm.
building trust, we're building we're having a connection where you want me to help you.
Oh
So
yeah.
that's what we're talking about today.
So, and I talk about that all the time, is whether we're dealing with buyers or sellers or other investors, we need to build rapport.
Hmm.
We discover commonality, build rapport because that's what leads to trust. Because, buyers and sellers are they're buying you as an
Hmm.
investor. They're going to work with you, even give you a better price than someone else because they're going to like you more. So
Absolutely.
that's so important. So, what are some of the things that the best house buyers are doing right now?
Yeah, so I think there's a few different things. First thing is they're always setting appropriate expectations. I think one of the things if you look at where areas where you're frustrated, where areas where you get upset, is because you expected one thing and you got something else. So I'm going to share a topic here. Hopefully, no one gets offended, right? Is there was Kamala Harris? She had a rally on Friday in Houston,
Mhm.
right? And she had a lot of upset people there. Well, why were they upset? They thought they were getting a Beyonce concert for free, right? What did they get? They got a 3 minute presentation about Beyonce talking about, how much she loves Kamala, right? Which is fine. But there were a lot of people that waited like 8 hours in line for a free concert, right? So expectations versus reality. So then you guys see these Instagram memes, right? Of like the woman trying to take a picture on the beach, right? You get like the Instagram version and then you get like the reality version. So then how does that apply for us buying houses? Well, generally speaking, when you meet with a motivated homeowner, whether in person or over the phone, they generally want all they want from you is your price. That's it. Maybe you can walk around the house. Maybe they'll answer some of your questions, right? But they just want your price and they want to get a price from like five different investors. And then they're just going to pick the highest price. That's their process. That's what they want. What are our expectations? What are our hopes to walk out with a signed contract? And so they want a price and then they'll call you if you're the best. You want to buy the property. We have a pretty strong mismatch in expectations, and no matter what, someone's going to be disappointed.
Mhm.
And so then the way we want to reset expectations, it starts off on the call that we schedule the appointment, which is going to sound like, hey, JJ, when we meet later on this afternoon or tomorrow morning, if we can agree on price
Mhm.
and everything else important to you, would you feel comfortable committing to working with us?
Hmm.
Right? So we're just setting the expectation on the phone. And then when we get to face or over the phone, we're going to again set those expectations. Hey, JJ, thank you for inviting me into your home. Before we even get into all this, can I just share with you how these conversations normally go? A lot of times, these meetings they go about an hour, hour and a half. Is that still a good amount of time for you? And in the past, homeowners that we've worked with, what they wanted to know was how this process works, how much money they're going to walk away with, and when exactly they're going to get their money. Am I missing anything? And obviously, for me to figure out if this is a house I'm going to buy, I'm going to ask you some questions. And some of these questions might come across as personal. Will that be okay? And in the end, if it makes sense for us to work together, what that means, we'll put everything in writing. And look, if the price we offer you doesn't work, or you just don't feel like we're a good fit, will you be all right telling me no? And likewise, if we figure out we're not going to be able to buy this house, not the price you need, are you going to be okay if I tell you that? And that's us setting expectations so that neither one of us is going to be disappointed at the end of our time together, right? So I think the
Great.
first thing this sets the tone for the entire meeting is setting appropriate expectations from the beginning so that no one's frustrated in the end.
Now, you have a team, I imagine, and when people are new at this, I mean, it sounds like there's some kind of an outline. I won't call it a script, but an
Absolutely, it
outline of
is.
things that we want to hit
Hmm.
so that we remember, that the person that we're dealing with, we don't forget anything. Um,
Yeah,
is it something that gets taught to people that are getting trained?
absolutely. Yeah. So our team is taught on this. And then, we had the good fortune. We work with about 40 of the top real estate investors across the country that are buying, between 10 and 30 houses a month. This is a script that they use because this is a script they were passionate about. We know it
Mhm.
works. Right. And then if you guys want it, I can, at the end of our call, I can share with you guys how to get that script for free.
Sure, sure.
Yeah.
Um, Let me ask you, do things change regionally? I mean, we hear that certain parts of the country are a blue state or red state. Some states are not landlord friendly, the blue states. Some states
Hmm.
are landlord friendly, the red states.
Hmm.
Uh, does the strategy differ from region?
No, no, because at the end of the day, people want to be treated respectfully, right? Like if I say, hey, I'm going to ask you some questions might come across as personal. If you're motivated, you can be like, yeah, whatever. Like, tell me what you need to know, right? But if you're not motivated, you're like, no, forget it, Steve. Like, I don't want that. It's like, okay, great, right? It sounds like you got this figured out. It sounds like you don't really need to
Uh,
sell your house.
oh,
Maybe we should just move on from here. So red versus blue region. The only places where it's kind of challenging is the Northeast. You kind of have to go through it a little bit faster. I mean, if you're in Manhattan, if you're in Boston, you're in Connecticut, you have to go a little bit faster. But beyond that, if they need to sell, they're going to work with you. And I
yeah,
think that's the key. So many people are saying, oh, I talked to this homeowner and they won't come down on price. Well, like, do they need to sell or do they want to sell? Because if they just want to sell because they want to sell at a convenience, they want to upsize, downsize, but they don't have any financial distress, that's not the people for us,
yeah.
right? The people for us are people that need to sell for one of two reasons. Either there's a financial circumstance in their life and they need money fast, or they got a property that they don't like dealing with tenants anymore. And then there's an opportunity here for us to buy creatively. But those are generally the reasons why someone would sell. And these people will be willing to have a conversation with us because we're speaking with respect. We're
Mhm.
speaking, we're setting appropriate expectations. Like,
The
if you
expectation.
think about it, yeah, like you don't get upset when you go in for an operation. I don't know if you guys have, like, unfortunately, I've gone to surgery multiple times, right? Like the doctor says, like, here's what we're gonna do, right? And here's what's gonna happen. And like, mark an X on the leg we're gonna operate on so we don't mess up the wrong leg,
The wrong
right?
leg.
And then we're gonna put an IV in you. We're gonna get anesthesia, by the way. They told you like yesterday, like don't eat or drink, past 8 p.m. They tell you all the things that are gonna happen before they happen. And what happens for you as a patient? You feel comfortable because it's
Exactly.
going in alignment with what they told you how it's going to go. But if you just showed up and they just gave you the gas to pass out and they're going to start operate, like you'd be kind of freaked out. Like, oh, what's going on here? Or another
Yeah.
example might be like JJ's in Tempe, right? We're hanging out. And I say, hey, JJ, we're going to go to lunch. Go ahead and drive. He says, okay. And we get in the car together. I say, all right, turn left here, turn right here. After about 2 or 3 miles, JJ's gonna be like, where the hell are we going? What restaurant are we eating at? Right? First, like, hey, JJ, we're gonna have lunch over here at Capitol Grill. So, just get on the freeway and you're gonna do this and this and this. You're okay with me navigating because you know where we're going.
Hmm.
But if I just start telling you turn left, turn right, and you're like, Steve, where are we going? What are we doing here? You can
Yeah.
be irritated with me. And that's the same thing as setting expectations at the
Again,
beginning of
you're
beginning of a sales
creating
appointment.
that comfort. Steve, I got a question. We're talking about setting expectations and letting,
Hmm.
the homeowner get a good feel for how the path is going to go. And obviously, in the best case scenario, they're motivated
Yeah.
and things go very well. And in the worst case scenario, they're not motivated and we're going to cut bait.
Hmm.
What happens when you're right right in the middle? How do you decide when to cut bait? Obviously, there's follow-up is involved, and maybe let them go, well, we'll contact you another time. But
Hmm.
for the newer investor, how do they maneuver that gray line?
So we do two different things. We want to push them away, right? Like, hey, you don't need to sell. It sounds like you get this figured out. So generally speaking, we're not chasing them because one of the things I learned from Craig Proctor was pursued prospects run away. So if you're chasing them, hounding them, pushing for the sale, what happens is you build and generate a lot of sales resistance. And so we don't generally try to close them. We get them to close us. The mindset is I'm not buying your house with my money, is you're buying my money with your house. Because JJ, why should I give you my money when there are literally thousands of people in foreclosure in the
Yeah,
Phoenix market?
yeah.
Right. And so if we approach it with this mindset, then yeah, JJ, I'm not sure we're going to be the buyer for you. And you heard me say that earlier in the setting expectations, like, hey, if we figure out there's a price that we can't pay, are you going to be okay with that? This
Exactly.
plants the seed. So this whole time when I was saying, hey, JJ, look, it sounds like you got plenty of time. You got money. You got, a bunch of money in the bank. You got all these contractors in your network. I'm not going to be a buyer. Should we end it
Wow.
here? Right. And if you say, yeah, I guess so. I guess it's over. Then I'm going to follow with, JJ, now that it's over, what are you going to do about A, B, and C? But when I said it's over and I ask you about what you're going to do about A, B, and C, you're going to start answering that question. And then we're going to continue the sales appointment, but it no longer feels like a sales appointment
Mhm.
on your end, right? But again, if we figure out you're not motivated, we're going to move on. The thing we're looking for is everyone that we hire has to be assertive,
Okay.
not aggressive, assertive. And what assertive means, I'm going to get a yes or a no today, right? I'm going to get a yes or a no today. Yeses are great. Nos are okay too. The worst is I need to think about it. The worst is call me
Okay.
on Monday, right? Because those are just people that don't have the ability to tell you no, and they'll just like, just call me later. When
Okay.
and the other thing too is, people will tell you I need to think about it, and the people that tell you I need to think about it usually are not lying to you. They're not. However, when you leave the appointment or you hang up the phone, all that stress and motivation that's going to cause them to sign a contract is going to dissipate, is going to disappear. And all that rapport that you and I built today is also going to disappear. So then when you call them on Monday, even though they genuinely believe that they're going to have a decision on Monday, they usually won't. It's I can't explain the scientific phenomenon, but there have been plenty of times where I met with a homeowner and like we're talking about the future, we're talking about the kids, their grandkids, and we know everything there is to know about them. And then we call them the next day and it's like a completely different person. It's like they're
Yeah,
bipolar or something, right?
I can imagine.
This is a real thing. So like that's the reason why we're looking for a yes or no today, because anytime they're kicking the can down the road, it's pretty much a dead deal.
So by setting the expectations and trying to, cut the fat away and just deal with the really
Hmm.
meat and potatoes, do you find there's a higher close rate this way?
Oh, 100%. Yeah, 100%. You're going to close a lot more deals. You're going to get a lot more rejection, right? But you're also going to close a lot more sales. I'm a failed poker player, right? Like in the meanwhile of getting my master's degree and working at Intel, I tried to become a professional poker player. And a lot of poker theory is game theory, right? Like you make the most optimal decisions. You have these two cards. There's this many chips on the table. Here's what the cards that you see. You make mathematical decisions at the poker
Yeah.
table. It's the same thing here. If you don't try to go for a yes or no, you're going to walk away with fewer contracts. It's better to get a no today than a maybe, because a
Mhm.
maybe means you're leaving contracts on the table.
You know, well, let me ask you. Obviously, you're a wealth of knowledge. You've become very successful. Training, coaching. I mean, if people want to get coached by you, how long would that program be? Is it monthly? Is it month to month? Is it a 6 month? What kind of training? Are there other people that help you? I mean, I'm sure we're gonna have people watching on YouTube weeks and months down the line go, how do I
Mhm.
get trained? How do I get trained?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, I want
Yeah.
to get it with
So
Steve.
Yeah, so if you're interested, so we talked about the free script, right? So if you guys want a copy of the script as well as my book and then our call audit tool and our KPI tracker and all these other things, if you text the phone number 33777, the word script, you'll get our script, you'll get my book and all these other things. I sell on Amazon for like $20, but you guys all get it for free, right? You're all JJ's people. Um, when you get all that, you're gonna have someone on my team reach out to you and see, hey, like how's your sales conversations going? They're gonna review your sales script and see if there's any room, for improvement on if you guys are interested. So if you guys are interested in getting better, there's a guy on my team, Ian Ross. The guy is actually, I think, a better sales trainer than me. He's just not as well known, right? So like you get to work with him directly. So there's that. For people that work with me, I generally work with teams because I work with the business owner, I work with their sales manager, I work with the acquisitions managers or lead managers or this one. Like I generally work with the whole team. Generally cost prohibitive. I don't recommend that for someone that's
Yeah.
starting. But Ian, it's a very reasonable price. And like I said, I don't tell him this to his face because there's no reason to, but he's probably a better sales trainer than me, right?
No, I wanted to put that into the chat for the people that are on right now again. So could you give me that number again or the word you
Yeah.
want to text what number?
Script, 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 and the phone number is 33777.
And I'm putting that in chat for everybody that's on the call right now. And ideally, my editor will put that as well. He can provide that as well for people that are watching on YouTube. Um, how long do people look to get trained? I mean, I'm not sure that this is something I would want to move into, but for those that are
Mhm.
interested, I'm a buy and hold investor, so
Yeah.
I'm
Well,
not dealing with
buy and
that.
hold, you still need to sell. You still need sales skills, right? Like, because there are a few different things. If people are sending you deals, they're sending to other people. How do we get them to send it to JJ versus somebody else, right? That's a sales conversation. How do you get your
Okay, okay,
right? Like if you're working with a title company, right? And you want them to send you a list on a specific day of the month. Like here's the process I need. You need to sell them on selling on this particular day of the month because if they can send it to you this particular day of the month, you got a process. You can open more escrows back to them, how they can see a benefit from them.
perfect,
Um, but one of the things I didn't realize when I got into sales, like I really got deep into psychology of sales. I studied it starting in 2007, but I really went deep in 2018. Is that I wish I had studied earlier because it's made me a better father, it's made me a better husband, it's made me a better leader in my organization. I'll give you an example here. My wife, we're married now. We just hit our 17-year anniversary. First couple of years are kind of rocky because I'm a terrible listener, right? Like, and I'm a problem solver. And so she would say, I have nothing to wear. What do? I go in her closet. Well, what about this? What about that? Hey, how about this outfit? Right? Doesn't work. And so, what I learned was I have nothing to wear means I have nothing to wear for this particular season, for this particular year, for this particular event, for these particular colors, for this season, right? I didn't know any of these things, right? So you have to learn how to listen better, and that's a sales
yeah,
skills. I'll give you another example. I'm the oldest son of an immigrant family of six boys, right? Psychological safety, emotional safety was not encouraged in our household. And so if we were ever caught crying when we were kids, you would hear, stop crying and why are you crying? And that leads to a lot of defensiveness. However, I've got three daughters. So when my daughters are crying, I don't ask, why are you crying? I ask, how come you're crying? And
Hmm.
now there's psychological safety. They can share, hey, here's what happened at school. Here's what a conversation I had with my sister. My friend said something and hurt my feelings, or I'm just overwhelmed for this test, whatever. But they don't feel like they have to defend their feelings, right? Like you're allowed to have these feelings. So I had to defend my feelings when I was a kid. So now it's all suppressed, right? But my kids have psychological safety, emotional safety. They're emotionally stable because I learned sales skills, right? So like how this would apply in an appointment, if I said like, why didn't you go with a realtor? They'd be like, maybe I should have gone with the realtor, maybe, and they'll defend that position. So I say, hey, what stops you from going to the realtor? It's like, well, I didn't like A, B, and C, right? Because we created psychological
Hmm.
safety. They can speak freely on why they didn't go with the realtor. So if I say, what stopped you from going with the realtor? They'll speak freely. I say, why didn't you go with the realtor? Like, well, that's none of your business. Like, why I didn't go with the realtor,
Yeah.
right? So these are different things that we use in a sales appointment, but also in relationships. Getting a team member to do what they're supposed to do is a sales conversation, right? Ed Milet said that the number one most valuable skill is a skill of persuasion. Skill of persuasion is sales. And so you got to sell your team members. I don't know, God forbid, you got to sell your team members on showing up on time, right?
Yeah.
That's a conversation. That's a sales conversation. It's a leadership conversation. It's all one and the same.
Do you find these conversations incorporate emphasizing value of some sort to have people meet the expectation?
Yes, for sure, but for their reasons. It's for their reasons. It's never for Steve's reasons. It's never for my reasons, right? I'm not asking you to call this lead in 2 minutes or less for my own pocket, right? I'm asking you to call this lead in 2 minutes or less because you said, JJ, you wanted to have season tickets to the Lakers so that you can network. Networking is important to you. Creating relationships is important to you. Well, you're not hitting the leads in a timely fashion. How are you going to be able to make the kind of money you said you want to make so
Yeah.
that you can go to the Lakers games, so that you can have networking events at your home on the mountain, right? So I don't push you to say like, well, look, JJ, I'm trying to buy another Lambo this year, and like you're not hitting your numbers. How am I going to buy a Lambo? Right? It's not what the conversation is. I'm getting you to do what you said you wanted to do for your reasons. We loop it all together.
Okay. Yeah. And I think to me it obviously sounds like getting to, it's not a standard template across the board because every person's different.
100%.
Steve, we have Peter Yim on. Peter, you're on with Steve Trang. Uh, Peter, what's your question?
My question, thanks Steve for doing this and
You're
JJ.
welcome.
Um, I just wanted to give you a little your opinion how to approach most of the sales scripts that you probably gonna share with us is probably more towards single family home owners.
Hmm.
How would you approach like a multi-family owner? Because they're a little bit more sophisticated than a single family homeowner.
They are more sophisticated.
Yeah,
Have you had these? Are you having these conversations today?
I am. Yes.
Okay. So the conversation really shouldn't be that much different. We just need to learn how to set appropriate expectations. One of the things that uh here, I'll share a quick embarrassing story about myself. Okay. So I started as a realtor in 2007, right? And this is when the market started doing this. And I'm advertising on Realty Track because for those that know back in the day, Realty Track was the website for pre-foreclosures, right? So if you wanted to buy pre-foreclosure, you went to Realty Track. And so investors would sign up to register their information, their name, phone number, email, blah, 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 so they could buy properties that are pre-foreclosure. I'm a realtor. I get these leads. I reach out. I call these leads, right? I still remember, like in the office, when I got my first cash buyer, right? I was like, oh my God, I got a cash buyer. I've got, like this is the key. I'm going to be super successful as a realtor now because I have a cash buyer in my database and network, right? Now that cash buyers are freaking jokes. But like in '08 or '07, whenever that was, I was so excited to have a cash buyer in my network. Well, that's kind of how we look at multifamily owners, right? People that own commercial real estate, people that own multifamily buildings, we kind of put them on this pedestal, okay? And what really helped me a lot is my friend Tim Bratz. I don't know if you guys know Tim Bratz, but he's got thousands and thousands of doors. And so I was having drinks with him again, talking about networking earlier with JJ, right? Having drinks, 12:30 in the morning, something like that. And I was like, Tim, talk to me about buying multifamily properties. Like these guys are a lot more sophisticated. They know what's going on. And he said, Steve, let me just stop right there. Let me just just hold that thought. People that own multifamily buildings are human beings like you and me. They have problems too, right? It could be a death in a family. It could be a bankruptcy. It could be a business problem. It could be gross mismanagement by the property management firm. It could be right now, like in Louisiana and Florida, insurance rates have skyrocketed.
Mm.
They could have a rate reset where they have to figure out a refi or they're going to be hosed, right? And so my point in all this is that don't go into an appointment with a multifamily uh, building owner and thinking you have to have this fancy conversation.
Hmm.
They're human beings like you and me, right? Don't put them on this pedestal because if you do, your language and your subconscious is going to come back to hurt you. Treat them like peers, right? Treat them with respect, but treat them like a peer to peer, and then you can have these quality conversations. And as you're having these quality conversations, have a quality sales conversation, they will begin to trust you because you're building a human connection.
Sure. Well, yeah, that does help. Yeah, yeah. If your mindset's going into the conversation with a commercial
Yeah,
property owner, yeah,
right. Yeah, they're not that much more sophisticated. Do they know bigger words? Do they understand cap rates and DSCR loans and all these other things? Sure, they know all these other things, but they have problems. Let me just share something real quick, right? Are you guys all familiar with the hero's journey? Um, so
No.
I'll share with you guys real quick the hero's journey, right? So every Hollywood movie is based off the hero's journey, okay? And as I go through this, I might ruin movies for you forever. I apologize, but it's important in business, okay? The hero's journey is you have a person who is called to adventure but doesn't want to go, right? They don't want to go, but then eventually they go on that adventure, and when they go on the adventure, it's because something happened, right? And as they go on through the adventure, something bad happens. And when something bad happens, a guide comes along to help them, right, on their journey. And then when they're going through that journey, something catastrophic happens, all hope is lost, right? And then they figure it out and then they win. So in this scenario here, the homeowner is called to adventure, not in a positive way. A life-altering event has occurred, right? That's the call to adventure. They don't want to deal with this. But they come to terms and realize, oh my God, I need to do something. So then they start their journey, right? And in order to start their journey, a guide comes along. We are the guides. We are not the heroes. We are the guides,
mm,
right? So if you look at it in this lens, whether you own a multifamily building or you own a single family home, a life event has occurred. And now you need to go figure this out. And we're the guide, right? Now, key here, we are not the hero. I see a lot of guys out there thinking they're the hero. If you think that you're the hero, you will not get the business. You're merely the guide, facilitating them, helping them get their life back together, get back on their feet. So I hope that kind of helps illustrate the story here. And then if you think about it, right, like Harry Potter, he didn't want to go to I can't remember whatever it was, Hogwarts, right? He didn't want to go, but then he had to go, right? And then he had a guide. You look at Frodo in Lord of the Rings, right? He didn't want to go on this journey, right? But then he realized he didn't have a choice. And then Gandalf was his guide. Luke Skywalker, he didn't want to become a Jedi, right? But eventually he goes, and then Yoda is the guide, right? So like, if you look at people that we buy properties from, something happened. They need money, but they're resisting it. They're thinking like maybe I can figure this out on my own. And they realize they can't. They need to sell the property. We're the guide.
mm. Wow, amazing, amazing. I gotta write this down before. Appreciate it, Steve.
Yeah, you're welcome. Well, I think JJ is gonna put it on the YouTube channel. So
Okay.
Peter, thank you so much. Before we let Peter go, Steve, Peter's been absolutely amazing with our group. He started early on and was a little bit reserved, and I just saw that he had a lot of potential, and I've imparted to him a challenge to do some videos, and he's done those. And it just seen his confidence build, his social media presentation, his recognition within the community. And so as you're talking about being that host and being that guide and reaching out to people and building those relationships, Peter, this has a lot to do with the journey you've already started on. You've got greater comfort in talking to people. You've got greater comfort in putting your presentation out there. And you've been doing great. You're going to continue to do great. And I think, just listening to the things that Steve has said just really applies to your path and your direction.
Yeah. Well, this
So,
yeah,
is all thanks to you, JJ.
well, and
and
definitely,
good,
Appreciate it.
Peter. Good for you for doing this because, like, I'll share with you when I started this journey, I didn't want to be in front of a camera, right? Like, it was 2018 that I decided to put myself in front of a camera. So I didn't want to be in front of a camera. As a matter of fact, my coach told me I need to be in front of a camera, and I still fought it for 2 years. So,
Yeah,
just
I still don't want to be on the camera. Not
yeah,
really. But JJ encouraged me, and I'm greatly appreciative of him encouraging me. So thank you, JJ.
awesome.
and as a result, Steve, now Peter and I become really good friends, and we go to sporting events together. And again, it's always about building the relationship, not asking for anything, surrounding yourself with phenomenal people. And I'm just pleased to have Peter be a part of the group. And Pete, thank you so much for asking a question today to Steve.
Yeah, thank you.
Troy Caudell, you are on with Steve Trang. What's your question?
Question about how to approach the sales aspect of dealing with PMLs, because I'm more of a connector, so I'm looking for the PMLs and I'm having those conversations with everybody.
You're looking to find private money lenders?
Yeah, I'm looking to add to my list of lenders because
Okay.
I'm being a connector. I'm kind of learning to be a PML broker.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm like the middleman between people that have the money and the people that need the money. So I'm having
Sure.
to have that sales conversation with both people.
Okay. So
I say,
what
but
problem?
I was also told that, and I've learned just life in general is completely a sales game. I would say you're trying to
Absolutely.
sell something yourself or your child on how to do something, or
Mm-hmm.
it's the entire, just life in general is a sales.
Yeah. So what problem are you solving in what you're doing today as far as having these conversations?
Like what you said, each individual is different.
Right. But like when you're
And I
talking to, are you
approach,
trying to talk to more private money lenders, or are you trying to talk to more wholesalers that need private money lenders or investors that need private money lenders?
right now, I'm working on the PMLs.
Okay. So in talking to private money lenders, then I think you got to figure out what's important to them, right? And so it's the same conversation as far as like getting to know them and understanding what their why, their big why is, right?
Absolutely.
And so you want to talk to them like, hey, what are you investing in right now? What's important to you? What's important to you about an investment you're working with? How will you know you're working with the right person? What are some returns you're getting right now in your existing investments? What are some desired return on an investment? Um, and I think the other thing too is figuring out their risk tolerance. Like how will you know we're doing a good job? How will you know we're doing a bad job? What are some good experiences you've had in lending with other people, your capital? What are some bad experiences you've had? Because now you know how to service them, right? But you can see here, these are all open-ended questions. But now they
Yeah.
get to share with you what's important to them.
Say it's the end your line with a question. So it
Mhm.
puts it back on them to answer you and could keep
Yeah.
the
Yeah,
conversation
because
going.
like what is the default conversation, right? If you're not
Yeah.
sales oriented, you might go in there like, hey, I'm looking to borrow some money. I'm willing to pay 8 to 10%. You can trust me because I have a good track record. I buy all these properties, and with all these different properties, my investors are making A, B, and C. right? And then you can hold the money. We can put it in escrow. Like you're vomiting all this information on somebody, and we haven't the slightest clue what's important to them. So I'm
Yep.
going to start off like what's important to you, and I'm also asking what are you getting your current returns because if they're getting 6% on a CD and you come in it's like I'll pay you 12%, it sounds too good to be true, and they're not going to trust you, right? But for us, 12% is a pretty good deal. It's not terrible, right? So we have to figure out what they're acclimated to, what they're used to. And then we say, okay, if I can get you 8%, what would happen then? Right? How would you like me to deliver the properties to you? What's important to you about the properties that we do together? And again, they're telling us how to communicate with them so that their expectations are met. We talked about earlier setting appropriate expectations so that their expectations are met and they're happy with this experience.
Yeah, that's exactly what I've been trying to do is
Mhm.
approach them, find out what their needs are, what I call lending criteria is,
Mhm.
and what they're comfortable with. Say I try to get to
Exactly.
know, I also try to just generally get to know them, period, not just for lending purposes.
Mhm. Yeah, that's absolutely great.
Steve, I think Troy's question kind of ties in a little bit about what I asked you earlier about your coaching.
Mhm.
Is it a monthly thing? And could someone get in for a month of coaching? Is it a 6 month coaching? How does that work?
So if you're
Someone
working
like
with
Troy
Ian,
wanting some help.
if you're working with Ian right now, if you sign up, and this is not like an urgency pressure, right? This is not this at all. I'm just
Yeah.
being completely transparent here. If you sign up with Ian today, it's lifetime access. So we're gonna change it come New Year. But right now, if someone signs up, it's lifetime access. So is it monthly or annually or 6 months, or whatever? It's at this exact moment, it's lifetime, but we're definitely going to change it. We just don't know exactly how it's going to change.
Mhm.
So,
And
um,
then, of course, if people are going to be interested if you're watching on YouTube or on your car right now, you'll just follow up with Steve via Instagram, contact him afterwards, and he and his
mhm.
team can get you guys all the information you need. But Troy, for yourself, I mean, you might want to reach out to Steve and send him an Instagram message and possibly depending upon, your availability, all considerations. It may very well be something that could benefit your business.
That's kind of what I was hoping for. I'd like to reach out to him.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
as you can see, his Instagram handle is at steve.trang. If you guys are on YouTube listening and didn't catch it earlier, or if you're on the call, didn't catch it earlier, it's at steve.trang, Steve dot Trang. So if you're watching on YouTube, send him a message, say hello, say, hey, watch the video with JJ. Troy, thank you so much, my friend. Mr. David Lamb. Dave, how are you?
Hey JJ, how you
You
doing,
are
Steve?
on with the
Pretty good.
infamous Steve Trang. What's your question?
Um, I know Steve, you've done a lot of sales masterminds and with a bunch of different people. Are besides like sales books, are there any books that you suggest like either listening to or reading that would help people become better at sales, like some sort of psychology book or some sort of self-help book that you would recommend, or just a few you would
Yeah.
recommend?
So, I mean, there's a few basic books. I don't mean basic, but like foundational books. There's Never Split the Difference by Chris Voss. I think everyone's read that. If you haven't, like that's the first one you got to pick up. You Can't Teach a Kid to Ride a Bike at a Seminar. That's a Sandler book. Gap Selling by Keenan. There's Unlimited Selling Power. There's Words That Change Minds. There's a lot of sales books out there, but I would say the top three for me, again, is Never Split the Difference, Can't Teach a Kid to Ride a Bike at a Seminar, and Unlimited Selling Power.
Why are those your top three books?
Chris Voss talks a lot about tactical empathy, right? And I mean, that was a great question on your part because you asked an open-ended question, right? So you talk about tactical empathy, how to mirror the other person, and so that they feel understood. Uh, Can't Teach a Kid to Ride a Bike seminar talks about having a framework for sales, right? Like it was an incredible book, really helped me a lot with my journey, having an actual framework. There's a couple of things that are missing. And that's where we come in. And then Unlimited Selling Power is this when you get to neuro linguistics programming, where we talk about talking to subconscious, and talking to subconscious is where most sales happens. It's not talking to the logical part of your brain. The logical part of your brain does everything it can to avoid the sale. It's a subconscious part of your brain that moves forward. And so we talk about how to unlock the subconscious part of your brain. That is what compels you to take action, right? It's not the logical thing that's going to get you to make a decision. Like, why would you ever sell your house for 30% off? It's not a logical decision, right? So to get someone to be willing to sell their house for 30% below market value, or for someone to agree for you to make their mortgage payments for the next 27 years, right? A lot has to happen where they're going to sell themselves. And for them to sell themselves, you got to plug into the subconscious, not the conscious part of the brain.
Yeah, it's happened to their emotions, so they can actually like, well, kind of just filling in the gap, right? In regards to triggering their
Exactly.
emotional decision making.
Yeah. Have you read those books? I imagine you
I've
probably read
read
the first two.
I haven't read Chris Voss. I started that one, I didn't finish it, but I did read He Can't Sell a Bike, the Sandler book.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
read that one.
So I would say Chris Voss, not only should you read the book, you should also listen to the audiobook, and you should also buy the masterclass. It's like $200. Right. I think it's masterclass.com. It's 200 freaking dollars, right? And you get to see like his little course. It's like 6 modules. It's a pretty good course. So I think at a bare minimum, right? Even if you don't buy our stuff, I think you should do that. Um, so yeah, I think those are incredible products.
Awesome. I appreciate that.
You're welcome.
David, thank you so much. Thanks for good to see you, and thanks for joining us. Man, Steve, you have dropped some absolutely golden nuggets for us. I see the pens moving, people taking notes. I want to thank you so much. And most importantly, just thank you for your time and coming to sit with us. I'm truly honored. As I said, I've known your name a long time, and listening to you speak at length about your field of expertise, it's clear why you're a leader in the community. And your kind nature, pleasant personality, smooth delivery. It's like check, check, check all the boxes. But I
Yeah.
want to thank you so much. Steve, I got two last questions for you. One, if people not only in our group but watching on YouTube weeks and months down the line want to connect with you,
Mhm.
what's the best way to reach out to you? I believe you said that would be your Instagram page. Is that correct?
Yep. Instagram's the best way to get a hold of us.
So it's steve.trang.
Mhm.
Close More Sales is your webpage.
Yep.
And then here's part of your page and your presentation. Okay, and then when they go to your Instagram, if they wish, guys, you could click on closemoresales.com and do a little bit more follow up and look into how you could connect with Steve and get with his team and possibly get some coaching, training, instruction, just whatever we can do at any point in time to help our business. Steve, last question, and you touched on this a little bit during the call. I've found having a networking group, there's so many education platforms out there. When I
Mhm.
started my group several years ago, we had maybe 3 education programs as members to my group. Now there's over 50 education programs that are members to my group. And there are new real estate investing students coming every single day to these education programs. Some with no experience, some with a great deal of experience, often coming to the social media platform of a Facebook group for the membership of their education program. They're using now social media, Facebook in particular, and Instagram for the very first time as a business tool.
Mhm.
Some of them are just joining this group or just get an Instagram page kind of sits there. What is the importance of using Facebook and Instagram, leveraging social media for the success of today's real estate investor?
Well, let me answer that question by just going back a few years, right? So obviously, everyone in this group knows who Pace Morby is, right? Okay. So how did he build everything? Well, he was a general contractor in Instagram. And every time he did a remodel, he'd take a picture of it and he'd post it on Instagram and he would get more business. And then he'd post those pictures and he'd get more business, right? And then somewhere along the way, Pace was my general contractor, right? So I'm a real estate broker. Pace was my general contractor. And we both blew up right around the same time. And it was all due to social media. Now, here's the thing. I'm the same person I was before social media. Pace Morby is the same person he is before social media, right? The difference is we're getting our information out there. We're getting our message out there. Why would someone work for you? Why would someone send you deals? Why will someone invest in you? It's because they know, like, and trust you. How do they do their research? Your social media. I used to teach this realtor class many, many years ago. And one of the things I taught all the realtors was that there's no such thing. I'm not saying there's no such thing. Every lead you get is an internet lead. Every lead you get is an internet lead. And what I meant by that is if you connected, JJ just connected me with Peter, for example, right? Well, if I wanted to reach out to Peter, I'm going to go check out his social media. Let's see what he says. Let's see who he is. Is he actually doing deals? Right? I'm going to do my research. Well, if there's nothing there, this is kind of like 10 years ago, you would never do business with a company that didn't have a website. Today, how are you going to do business with someone that doesn't have a social media presence? So it's that critical to your business.
There you go. That answers it. Hey, Steve, I want to thank you for being on the call today. Absolutely awesome. I'm looking to following up with you more in the future, opportunities that we could possibly get together. If you guys are watching on YouTube right now, please like Steve's video. Please click the like button in the comment section. Please put your takeaways on what you thought was more valuable for yourself, what you really liked. And as far as I go, how I can improve my product, how I can improve videos for you, possibly speakers you might want to see in the future. Do you want to get Steve back again? Of course we do. But please put your feedback and please like Steve's video. If you guys want to connect with Steve, again, that's going to be through his Instagram at steve.trang. If you want to connect with me, join my networking group. Just click the turquoise register now button, QR code here. Takes you to my website. You can register for my group. You'll be sending invitations for all upcoming Zoom calls. If you want to see our recordings from the past, just click the scan the purple QR code here and subscribe to my YouTube channel. And you'll be able to, see all the upcoming videos as they're dropped from being edited for publication. Again, guys, thank you for watching us. If you're on the call right now, don't go away. We're going to have maybe a couple more minutes with Steve before we thank him and say goodbye just between our group. Steve, as far as everyone out there in the world on social media, we'll see them on Instagram, Facebook, and everything else, right?
Absolutely.
Thanks, guys. Thanks for joining us.